I want to play this clip of Trump basically making his case as to why he was going to get not only 4 more years, but 8 more years. And listen to how serious he is about this, and then we'll discuss it.
We are going to win 4 more years. And then after that, we'll go for another 4 years because, you know what, they spied on my campaign. We should get a redo of 4 years.
This man, Donald Trump, is a threat. He is what makes him such a threat, a unique threat above everything else, is the fact that he's willing literally to burn down every institution that we would use to get any progress. I mean, unless you see value in completely burning down the American institutions and you feel like we can get some progress through some type of chaos and disorder that ensues after that, you can't possibly look at Donald Trump and think that his pathway is a pathway to any type of liberation or revolution. That's just to be very candid about this. But setting aside that possibility in terms of the manner in which some people may be thinking, Donald Trump is a very direct threat to democracy itself because he has the hubris and the ego enough to have no regard for the institutions. This is the thing about America. This is the thing about any government, about any form of governance. It's an agreement. It's an agreement that has to be kept or else it's not kept. Right? There's so many different pressure points in our system that would allow for Donald Trump to completely undermine democracy simply because he has no regard for our democracy. And yes, that perhaps is a statement to the weakness of democracy, but what else? What do we expect, right? Do we expect to have some ironclad protection from the military? Well, then at the end of the day, we would be a military dictatorship. Right? Or at least what's underneath it wouldn't be a social contract. It would be the threat of violence from our military. And so long as what's underneath this government, whether you think this government is whatever your criticisms are of this government, it does derive its consent from the governed. And it does require that at different points in this democracy, in the institutions, that a person with power acknowledges the sanctity of that institution and have the ability to acquiesce. Even if they don't want to, they turn over power. That's probably one of the biggest. I saw one person say, oh, you don't have to worry about this because the Secret Service would have that under control. Really? I mean, honestly, because then if you put on that second layer of what makes Donald Trump so problematic is that he inspires this type of behavior in his supporters. Well, then they have an oath. Yeah, so does everybody else. So do all the police officers who are out there smashing people's heads. So do all the military, the reserves. I mean, everybody has an oath. It doesn't mean that they're going to abide by it, especially because you go to the third layer of what makes Donald Trump so dangerous is his willingness to give pardons to every single one of his friends, no matter what they have pled guilty to. And so he sets a standard that shows like if you're loyal to him, he will always give you a pardon. Remember the Navy SEAL who committed war crimes? He gave that SEAL, I forgot his name, Gallagher, perhaps. They gave him a pardon and fired the Navy chief. I mean, Donald Trump, it is a trifecta. It's probably more layers, but I'm going to stop at the trifecta of things that make his presence in power so damning to our democracy because our democracy was not built to withstand somebody like Donald Trump. But then how else could it have been built what other way could it have been built except for with the consent of the governed and with the willingness of people in power to turn over that power? So Donald Trump, I don't take these threats idly. I believe him when he says it. Because how many times does a person have to tell you who they are before you realize, oh, they weren't playing? It's like it's not as though we're hearing, and I'll play a clip later on of somebody who used to work for Trump in the Department of Homeland Security, but it's not as though we're hearing this secondhand from other people. We're hearing this directly from the horse's mouth. He's willing to burn down this democracy, all of our rules, all of our institutions, all of our norms that we would otherwise use to get progress in this country. He's willing to say F it all for the sake of his ego, for the sake of a talking point. For the sake of a talking point at a rally, he would see it through to the end. And if he has people around him, I guess the fourth level of that trifecta is no longer a trifecta, is the fact that these people are partisan hacks themselves. The people that surround Donald Trump don't think them to be more noble than they are. They are ideological, and that's what makes him so dangerous. The fact that he inspires this, that he rewards this, and he has no regard whatsoever for the institutions in this country.